Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. A lot of hot issue papers on the Korean question nowadays. Again, today, let me speak in English for those Korean Americans who do not understand Korean so well. Today, let me talk on the title of It's Time to Rethink U.S. Military Ties with South Korea, written by Doug Bendo at Cato Institute, who recently raised the question of South Korea's, developing nuclear weapons on the Foreign Affairs, June edition. In this paper, Doug Bendo raised the question that it is right time to adjust the military ties with South Korea from the viewpoint of the U.S. government, especially reflecting those changes of security issues around the Korean Peninsula. According to his paper, he said that Biden administration officials trekked to Seoul in late May to discuss a path toward a new Special Measures Agreements, SMA, that will define the parameters of military cooperation between the U.S. and South Korea for years to come. The talks, said the U.S. Embassy, that underline the enduring vitality of the U.S.-ROK alliance, which remains the linchpin of peace, security, and prosperity for the Northeast Asia, the broader Indo-Pacific, and beyond. The South Koreans have a more practical goal of holding down cost, taking the position that our defense burden sharing will come at a reasonable level to ensure conditions for a stable stationing of U.S. troops. According to Doug Bendo, he said that the U.S. presidential election is still more than 5 months away. But Washington officials and their foreign friends are already preparing for the possible victory of a former presidential Donald Trump. That goal is to lock in what amount to America's last policies that Trump is most likely to challenge. So it is with those devoted to the U.S. alliance with the Republic of Korea. Then President Trump's policies and rhetoric caused much distress in Seoul and resulted in an impasse over cost sharing. South Korean officials welcomed the return of the status quo after Trump's defeat with the Biden administration, allowing the Republic of Korea's cheap ride to continue. So we are spending a limited amount of defense sharing amount as of now, but it is increasing in actual terms. However, South Korea now faces the possibility of Trump's return. At best, it would mean a repeat of his insistence that South Koreans pay more for America's protection. At worst, it would mean a withdrawal of U.S. forces. The result has been much wailing and gnashing of teeth in both capitals. In response, the Biden administration has accelerated negotiations over the next SMA, Small Measures Agreement. The new accord won't take effect until 2026, but would bind the incoming administration. The State Department claimed to have disinterested motives, but it is hard to ignore the fact that concluding the deal before the next president is inaugurated would deny Trump the opportunity to set policy. Unsurprisingly, the talks have reportedly been going well, since both sides have an incentive to finish before the campaign heats up. Today, South Koreans pay about $1.2 billion annually to underwrite the U.S. military presence. The two governments are likely to set a small increase in the ROK's payments. And some alliance advocates argue that Washington is getting a good deal. For instance, Troy University's Dan Pinkston cited the amount that Korea contributed by paying for all the electricity used by U.S. forces here, the land used for military drills, the salaries of civilian workers on the bases, and so on. As a result, Pinkston contended that it is actually cheaper for U.S. to have these troops based here in Korea than to ship them back to the U.S. territories. He also pointed to the intangibles at the heart of the alliance that benefited the U.S., such as support from Korea in cyber warfare, anti-piracy operations around the world, counter-terrorism campaigns, also support for Washington in the UN and others. So many benefits except military cost. So in reality, the arrangement is a sweet deal for South Korea by any measure. In exchange for $1 billion and change, 90% of which is spent in the Republic of Korea, Seoul gets a guarantee that world superpower will use military force, including nuclear weapons, to protect it from any and all enemies. Biden's effort to Trump-proof the relationship will only make America less safe. And South Korea's payments are not a contribution to the U.S., which is maintaining its garrison for the South benefit. American forces act as a tripwire to ensure that Washington political leaders have no practical choice but to go to war for the ROK, Republic of Korea. Irrespective of America's interest, the troops perform no other effective role, certainly not in the confronting China, the most obvious East Asian challenge for U.S. influence. Moreover, contrary to Pinkston's view, South Korea does not offer a cheap location for U.S. military personnel here. Force structure does not exist for its own sake, but it is based on security commitment. If Washington cuts its support for Seoul, it should eliminate corresponding unit, personnel, and hardware rather than relocate them somewhere. Nor does the alliance, as such, offer extra benefit for Americans. Washington is defending the Republic of Korea, and Seoul is not defending the U.S. Moreover, Washington and Seoul can work together on other issues of mutual interest, even without an American security guarantee. Nevertheless, the Biden administration appears determined to prevent any debate of Washington's commitment to South Korea. However, Trump could thwart this expensive cooperation by moving beyond host nation support and reconsidering America's force presence altogether there. So there are a range of good reasons to consider such a move. For one, the alliance costs and risks are growing. The Korean War was terrible, but American liability was limited to the battlefield. Washington fought ferociously without risking the homeland. Ferociously. That would be no longer be the case today. In years past, the Democratic People's Republic of Korea hoped that its conventional threat to Seoul, which sits uncomfortably close to the border, offered sufficient deterrent to Allied military action, including preventive U.S. strike. Now, Pyongyang possesses a nuclear arsenal expanding in size and a missile force increasing in range. The Asan Institute in Seoul and the Rand Corporation warned that in a few years, North Korea could have 200 nuclear weapons, and several dozen intercontinental ballistic missiles, ICBMs, and hundreds of theater missiles for delivering the nuclear weapons. Terrible situation if this is developed into reality. Although a preemptive attack from Democratic People's Republic of Korea would be suicidal, Pyongyang is likely more interested in deterring U.S. involvement in a Korean conflict. Should war occur, would a U.S. president be prepared to risk one or more American cities in defense of South Korea? Should a U.S. president do so? Big question, such a big question. Such a conflict would be a human tragedy. The ROK is a worthy friend, and the ties between the American and South Korean people, family, and cultural, economic, and more are strong. Nevertheless, such interests do not warrant risking America's very survival. This is a very crucial question. This is the reason why many Korean experts and scholars are raising the issues of South Korea's developing its own nuclear weapons nowadays. This is my comment. Also, according to Bendo here in his article, in reality, the South is capable of defending itself. Trump sensibly asked, they are a very wealthy country, so why wouldn't they want to pay? In 1953, South Korea was an economic wreck, its people impoverished and its politics authoritarian. Absent American support, the North Kim Il-sungs probably would have observed the South at the time. However, the Republic of Korea soon began to race past the DPRK economically. 2 decades later, Seoul embraced democracy. It has now achieved a major international presence with economic development. Although the Republic of Korea's military has lagged behind the country's resources, the force is capable, and one U.S. military official traveling to the Republic of Korea described the latter's military as among the best in the world. According to this, quoting there, from a person who has worked with a lot of different countries, I put them at the high end of capability, the official said. Not as an absolute replacement for U.S. capability, but combined, it is very strong, and that is without them seeking to replace U.S. forces. Ironically, some South Koreans worry more about losing American money than troops, fearing fewer sales and jobs here. Also, capitals could go out of South Korean territories. And the prospect of a U.S. withdrawal is not without concern. And transfer of defense responsibility raises the possibility that South Korea could seek nuclear weapons as a deterrent against North. This is a reality, I think. The thought horrifies the usual suspect and has led U.S. policymakers to work desperately to convince South Koreans that U.S. extended deterrence remains strong. But my comment is this true? Nowadays, many South Korean experts and people are raising doubt that can the U.S. nuclear umbrella be completely, operated when North Korea makes nuclear attack? This is a crucial question as of now. And according to Dr. Bendo, that was reflected in the last year's so-called Washington Declaration, which assumed Washington would continue to risk the destruction of the American cities and slaughter of American people to protect the South. Even if South Koreans believe that Americans would do so, why should we? A Republic of Korea bomb might not be a good solution, but it might be the best among the several bad options. The SMA negotiations, small measures agreement, negotiations, pale in importance, compared to such issues. Why should Washington risk its people's future to protect a nation capable of handling its own defense, irrespective of the price the latter is willing to pay? American personnel should not be rented out to even the best of friends, especially when the U.S. has no vital interest at stake. This is a reality in international politics, isn't it? So, in conclusion, Dr. Bendo concluded that instead of arguing about host nation payment, the two governments should refashion the relationship and limit America's role. The current treaty should become a blueprint for mutual cooperation. Then the U.S. troop presence should be phased out, thus terminating host nation support after the withdrawal is complete. So we have a lot of questions, on these kind of issues nowadays. So, comment and articles and talks why South Korea is to be equipped with nuclear weapons after developing its own nuclear weapons. Big talks. Although the U.S. government official policy is based on strong extended deterrence, but some doubt, some questions and suggestions that ultimately, based on nuclear reciprocity against North Korea's increased nuclear weapons, possibly the number could reach more than 200 in a few years, according to some expert calculations. South Koreans should think about its own solutions in the future without U.S. support. That's international politics. Of course, we can guarantee our safety based on Korea-U.S. alliance, expanding more trilateral framework of Tokyo, Seoul, Washington military ties. But thinking of North Korea, Russia, People's Republic of China's trilateral nuclear alliance system, still only believing in U.S. nuclear umbrella system, extending to South Korea and Japan, is a incomplete device to protect the entire South Koreans and Japanese maybe. So this is the point nowadays. We are beginning talk officially on the question of arming ourselves with nuclear weapons, possibly in step together with Japanese also assertions in the future on this issue. Okay? Thank you so much.